Square cut or pear shape, these rocks don't lose their shape. Diamonds are a girl's best friend. Dun, 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 dun. Welcome to Dinner Party Tonight. Today we're going to be making some winter comforts. I guess comfort food or comforts. Funny things that are interesting to have in the dead of winter. I don't know if you noticed, but we're still under construction. It's been, I don't know, about 6 months, 5 months. The thumping and banging that you'll hear in this area is some sort of thing that they're doing during filming, which was supposed to have been over 45 minutes ago. We're going to be making, of all things, meatloaf. But do you know why? Because people love meatloaf. The truth is they love meatloaf. They request meatloaf, and they want meatloaf. We're also going to be making cheesecake, which is pretty easy. I wouldn't say it's totally easy, but it's pretty easy. We're going to be making a funny drink or two, one of which is called Hippocras, or Hippocras, which is essentially mulled wine, but it's kind of fancy and interesting. It's got a great history. And then we're going to make a drink in honor of my dad, who used to drink these on cold nights on the vineyard. If you can think of those like rainy, cold, whaling ship nights, you know, on the vineyard back in the 60s and 70s when it was still cool there. He used to drink a drink called a bull shot. We're going to make bull shots in honor of my daddy. I don't really like cheesecake, but a lot of people love cheesecake. So David Leibowitz recommends Ruth Reichel's recipe, the former editor of the late, great Gourmet magazine. Just one small caveat. They want you to use a 9-inch springform, and I did, and I'm going to use it now to show you guys. I think it should be in an 8-inch springform. It makes a sort of a shallow cheesecake, but it's perfectly delicious, but I'm going to use the 9-inch one, said the actress to the bishop. You need some cookies for your crust. You can make them. You can use our chocolate icebox cookie recipe if you'd like, or even the vanilla one. It's up to you. Or you can buy cookies and crush them. So for the sake of a winter comfort that's quick, easy, and fun, we're going to use ones from the store. You should really make a cheesecake the night before you want to eat it. It should be in the fridge for at least 8 hours because it sets, the crust sets a little bit, and so does the cheesecake. And you can refrigerate it and eat it for 3 to 4 to 5, 6 days, and of course you can freeze it. The first thing I'm going to do is warn you to put a tinfoil base on your springform. It does leak, so put a little thing on it like this. And then you're gonna grease it with butter. So I'm just preparing this pan in an extremely ordinary way. Always prepare your pan first. In this one, it's not as essential as it is in a cake with leavener, because leaveners react to air, baking powder, baking soda. So you don't want your mix to be sitting while you prepare your pan. That's why they say prepare 2 pans at the beginning of the recipe. Did you know that? That's why. That's prepared. Set that aside. Now we're going to make the crust. Ruth Reichel, the editor of the late, great Gourmet magazine, says you can use 27 cookies to make 6 ounces. Shall we see if she's correct? I love these. Oh my God, they're so good. It's a black sablé, essentially, a chocolate cookie. I'm gonna see if she's right. If 27 cookies is 6 ounces, which is hilarious. If she's right, it's impressive. 25, 26, 27. What do you guys think? She's right. You think that's 6 ounces? I think she's right too. Oh, it's more than 6 ounces. Pretty close. And then you're just gonna crush these. You can also put them in a sack and hit them with a rolling pin if you want. Hey, listen, some people wrote in about the plastic waste for the sous vide thing. She's right. There is a lot of waste involved in sous vide. There's a lot of waste in the kitchen. So Regina actually sent me a link, and we've been researching reusable sous vide bags, which exist. I'm just gonna crush these, it's very simple. It'll blend right in with the noise upstairs. Okay, those are pulverized. To this, I'm going to add 8 tablespoons of melted butter. You know when they say clarified butter? Oh, lobster with clarified butter. Do you know what clarified butter is? If you look at this, see the white stuff in the bottom? And you see the globs on the top? Those are milk solids, and the remainder is clarified butter. So it's kind of fascinating. So just pour in all the butter, and it will make a dough. And you're gonna put in 1/4 cup of sugar. I personally would put a little bit of salt in there, because I'm me, personally. Dump this into the pan. Yikes. So I'm just scooping this. Okay, my hands are clean. And we are now going to make this into a crust. There's no way around this, you have to use your hands. So you're just gonna push it into a relatively flat surface that's relatively even. Then you're gonna take your cup and you're gonna do like little pressures that make it go up the side a little bit. Now, if I was a patisserie person, this would be perfectly, a perfect circle. But I'm not. I'm making a dessert for my friends. And then kind of feel that you have a little bit of an edge on every piece. There's a little bit too much there. Then you're gonna put this in the freezer. Okay, this is under frozen, but it doesn't matter. Are you wondering what the tape is? We have a little song here. It goes like this. Bum bum bam. Bum bum bam 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 bum bum bam. To Junkyard. This doesn't close anymore. So we have to use the tape. So I'm just putting this in for 10 minutes. Then you have to kind of pull this up very taut, like that. This is a 350 oven. Basically everything in the world is baked at 350, FYI. And then you're gonna reduce it to 300 when you take this out after 10 minutes. So it's 10 minutes in a 350 oven to sort of blind bake the bottom. We're gonna make the filling for the cheesecake. So it involves 3 packs of cream cheese. Just use Philadelphia cream cheese. It has 5 ingredients. Well, how can you go wrong? You're gonna dump these into your mixer bowl. Please just come out. So you're gonna kind of mush this around. You wanna push down the sides on this a lot. Then we're gonna put in a cup of sugar and some eggs and a little lemon zest. Now, you could put chocolate in here. You could put maple sugar, ginger. Basically, it's a blank canvas. We're just using the traditional French combo of a little bit of lemon. I'm gonna put the sugar in. Choose the biggest eggs you have. 1. I forgot the lemon zest. You can use lemon, you can use orange, you can use lime. That seems weird, but you could use lime. Or you could use, I'm telling you, any flavor that you want. Ginger. This is the best zester I've told you before. Microplane, don't bother with anything else. I'm just gonna whip that in. Egg number 2. Oh, guess who I just saw at Faico's? Jean Reno, the actor from The Professional. You remember that movie with what's her name when she was a kid? He's quite impressive in real life. He's actually kind of an attractive guy in real life. Gotta go to Faico's. I gave you the best years of my life. I was a fool to know Adelaide, Adelaide. Frank Sinatra. Go ahead, Frank, just sing whatever melody you want, it's okay. Okay, you're gonna add a little vanilla. I'm using vanilla paste. I would use what Jamie Oliver calls a glug, a slug, Gives it the nice flecked appearance. I'm gonna sort of scrape down the sides here a little bit. I just made a massive mess, Zach. Have a good time with that. Scooping up the bottom, making sure there's no cream cheese on the bottom. Our crust has been out and is cool and is ready to accept the beautiful flower of our cheesecake virginity. Doesn't really work as a metaphor. Ruth Reichel, she says to whip this with a whisk before you pour it in. She's right. So you want to just give it a little, make sure there's nothing in the bottom. I'm pouring this into the mold. Not mold, the, what do you call it, pan, I guess. And now I'm going to put this in the oven, which I've reduced to 300. Put this in. Oh, it's going to leak. All right. Close it up. Reapply your tape. Oh, you don't have tape on your oven. Make sure it's reduced to 300. I would put this in for 50 minutes. I would set your marathon timer. Of course you have one. Your timer for 45 minutes and check it. You want it to be, if you shake it, it should move very slightly in the center. If you're using the topping, you want it to really move in the center. Then you put the topping and cook it for another 10 minutes. We're not doing a topping. So you want it to just be slightly moving in the center. So I know it's done now because it's slightly wiggling, but it's set. And if I gently touch it, but be careful because it's firm. The minute you take it out, you want to just gently do this. You want to run a knife around it like this, very gently. So it can shrink and not pull. Look at that. I made this last night. What happens overnight is the crust turns back into a crust because it's full of butter. And the filling sets, you know. I do think it should be in an 8-inch pie pan. But anyways, it just turns into cheesecake that you would buy in a restaurant. Otherwise, it would be quite loose if you cut it from the oven. In fact, I don't think you could cut it, probably. It would smush. As you can see, it's uneven and kind of cute. Shall we cut a slice? A suggestion I would make, if you would like, is you could have another 2 crushed cookies, and you could put cookies on the top and kind of press it down. You can pipe whipped cream, you know, or you can just serve it like this. I like it like this, so I'm gonna cut a slice. Cheesecake, for God's sake, it's the thing to make. Let's make meatloaf. Everybody loves meatloaf. There's a million variations. This is very loosely just straight off the internet from all recipes, best meatloaf recipe or whatever. You can glaze it or not, whatever. But as you're making it think about it when you're making your mixture. They all have one thing in common. They need a binder. The binder in this case is breadcrumbs and an egg. And it sticks it together. But you still have to watch that liquid content, but you don't want it to dry out. So it's actually sort of a gourmet thing because you have to be careful with it even though it's quite rustic. So let's get started with meatloaf. I would suggest using 3 kinds of meat simply for fat content and moisture. If you just use lean ground round, you're not gonna have a lot of fat. So I would suggest using beef and a little pork or whatever combo suits you. This is from FICO, as I saw Eddie. So he mixed together these meats for me. And when I go to FICO's, it comes from the back. It doesn't come from the display. And of course, when I left, I remembered to tip my butcher! So basically, I'm just breaking this up a little bit. I'm gonna add a little salt. I'm looking at the amount, and I'm salting it accordingly, okay? That's from experience. You can always salt it when it's done, but you can't take salt away. Then we're gonna mix in some chopped shallots, about that many. This is too much meat for this container, which is a dinner party tonight tradition. I don't have the right size container, so we're gonna use that one. And I cut this very badly. There's huge pieces. So you want finely diced red onion. The one thing you don't want to put in meatloaf, which is gross, is green peppers.
Ain't no green peppers in McDonald's.
Put a little pepper. I'm going to add a binder because the problem with meatloaf is it crumbles and falls apart. It's still delicious, and ours might crumble. I don't know. And the binder is an egg, breadcrumbs, and milk. The milk keeps the breadcrumbs moist. Putting in the breadcrumbs, it's a cup of breadcrumbs. You can make them yourself. Here's the egg, and I'm gonna put a little bit of milk. I'm just sort of mixing this in together. I'm gonna have to use my hand eventually. It's a little dry. I'm gonna put a tiny bit of milk, more milk for processing. Voila. Look, if you wanna put green peppers, you can.
Big chunks, don't even dice it. Big chunks of green peppers and onion.
I'm gonna use all the milk. I'm gonna put a little tiny bit more salt, a little more pepper, because I'm seeing that the breadcrumbs increase the volume. You can put this in your loaf pan. This one's too small. You can put it in your loaf pan and put it in the fridge overnight. You can also put bacon on the top, you know, like people do all kinds of things. And people have beloved sacred meatloaf recipes. Did you guys hear about the kid who released his mother's sacred secret recipe for meatloaf because she disowned him for being gay? And he put her recipe on the internet. And now everybody's making it and photographing it, them holding it and sending it to them. I think it's so funny. So I'm gonna put another egg. I actually wanna put a half an egg, but I'm gonna put an egg. I'm gonna kind of do this. I'm gonna go like, whoa, oops, and then I'm gonna put this in the garbage. The old half an egg trick from Dinner Party Tonight. That looks better to me. Here we go. You wanna make it sort of tight, okay? Okay, I'm gonna put all of this in. It's too much, but I'm gonna put all of it in. I'm packing it slightly. Now you can put this in the refrigerator for a couple of hours for it to kind of set up, but then you have to add to your cooking time. Don't forget that. And in the meantime, we're gonna make a glaze or a glacé. 2 tablespoons of brown sugar. I think that's too much, but we'll see. Don't forget the ketchup has sugar in it. I'm actually gonna use a little bit less, so I'm not following their recipe. Catsup. Tomato concentrate from red ripe tomatoes. What did you think? Distilled vinegar as opposed to what? High fructose corn syrup. Settle down, it's just a sweetener. Corn syrup, just a sweetener, everybody. Salt, spice, that's very vague. Onion powder and natural flavoring, which is usually MSG, which also can't hurt you, by the way. Here we go. 1/3 of a cup. I'm gonna eyeball it. There you go. That's about 1/3 of a cup. I'm gonna stir this a little bit and I'm gonna put it on a low heat. It smells terrible. It smells like hot dogs. So I don't like this. It seems ordinary to me. I'm gonna put a little pepper in there, not too much. And I'm gonna put a teeny little bit of soy, which is salt, but it's gonna make it a little dark and a little gorgeous, just a little bit. That's lovely. Glaze done. So I'm just gonna paint the top of our meatloaf. Because we're using a too small pan, this is messy. And this kind of turns into like that, almost like a crispy top because of the sugar. I think this might be really, really good, you guys. All right, beautiful. I'm just gonna clean the edges. All right, gang, this goes in to a 350 oven for between 50 minutes to an hour. I'm gonna use convection, which is appropriate for this. I'm gonna put something under it, a little piece of tin foil, because I think it might bubble up, like my love for you. I'm gonna put this in the oven. Look how beautiful that is. Holy cow, mania. How many dogs does it take to make a mommy and a son dog date? How many dogs do you want? Are you a savant? Here comes the meatloaf. Chomp, chomp, chomp. Gong, gong, quing, quing, quing. I used a meat thermometer just to see it was 160, which is where it should be. This looks divine. And I'm gonna let it cool. Don't try to eat this now. It'll just disintegrate. You want it to kind of rest and sit for a second, you know? Meatloaf. Now listen, there's something we didn't talk about that's important. Meatloaf can be made in a loaf pan. I didn't mention this when we were doing this. And it can also be made by shaping a loaf on a tray. Either way is fine. In this case, I would probably run a knife like this and slice it and serve slices from the loaf pan. If it was a loaf on a tray, it's easier to cut and serve or present it in that pan. It's up to you. It might be crispier on all three sides if you shape a loaf. It also might be more juicy and yummy if you do it this way. It's really up to you. So how do you serve it? What do you do with it? This is a particularly unattractive loaf pan. If you have an attractive loaf pan, you can serve it straight out of the loaf pan. The other thing you can do is wait for it to cool. This is such cheap pan that it's already cool. You can try to decant it, meaning you run a knife around the side and you just very quickly tip it in your hand and set it on a plate. I've done it. It does interrupt the glaze and stuff like that. You can also have a small spatula and try and get under it. You know, you're taking a risk of it breaking. My suggestion would be use a less hideous loaf pan or let it cool completely, decant it, and warm it, which is probably what I would do. If it was meatloaf for special people, that would do anything for love, but I won't do that. Dun, 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 dun. Meatloaf, America, my home. We're gonna make bull shots. Daddy used to drink them out of a red and white plastic mug. It had a flat handle, you know, and it had a white rim at the top. My siblings know what I'm talking about. Anyway, he would drink this drink called a bull shot. I don't know if anybody drinks these anymore, but let's give it a try. I think it sounds fabulous for winter. Basically, it's beef tea or beef bouillon or beef broth with a little bit of Tabasco, Worcestershire sauce, if you have it, and vodka. Here's the beef broth. So I'm just gonna heat this. You can serve them cold, even though that sounds disgusting to me. Now, Dad probably had it at somebody's house, and then he was like, that's the coolest thing. I'm gonna put a little pepper, and I'm gonna put a teeny bit of salt, just a little bit, because there's no salt in the bouillon. Basically, it's like alcohol soup, I guess. I'm gonna put a little Tabasco. Who's gonna try it?
I'll try it.
Let's turn it up. See, boys like bull shots. Don't forget it, girls and boys. You can add all kinds of seasoning and flavoring. You can make it with veggie broth. Listen, it's bizarre. If you say to people at your house, it's cold, everybody's bummed out and everything, and you say, let's have bull shots, and you make bull shots for them? I guess if it's a veggie one, you wouldn't call it a bull shot. I'm not gonna put the booze in here because I think it might immediately evaporate it. I'm gonna put the booze in the mug. How much vodka? Nobody knows. How about this much? Just gonna make sure it has enough vodka. I'm gonna tell you, man.
It's very hot, Kevin.
It's not that hot to drink, though. That's not a bad drink.
Wow, it really isn't.
You wanna try it, Reg?
No.
Here, I'll pass it. I think with veggie broth, it would be really good.
That's good.
A little bit of a kick.
A little extra.
Ready?
I drink that all night.
I know. It's kind of delicious, Lynn.
Oh.
It warms your chest. The thing about Dad was that he was perpetually cold, which I am now perpetually cold, and I wasn't before. And now I understand why he drank bull shots, right? All right, here, Reggie. It just tastes warming. It's charming.
It's good.
The alcohol, I poured it back in here from the cup, and when I heat it, it's gonna burn the alcohol off. So when I make more bull shots, I'm gonna put more broth, and I'm gonna pour vodka in people's mugs, and we'll have a delicious bull shot at COD, which means
Close of day.
good job. Let's make something wintry. It's called Hippocras. I bet you never heard of that. Regina and I were obsessed with a show called Supersizers go. It was the greatest show in the world, starring Giles Corran and Sue Perkins. And what they did was they went back in time to different periods for 1 week. They had a medical test at the beginning and a medical test at the end. And they had to wear the clothes and eat only the food. Nothing else. No medicine, no Advil, no coffee, if it wasn't present in that period. So there were several episodes in which they were just completely wasted from day dot to day dot, right?
Correct.
Medieval was one because there was no potable water. Rome, I think they were drunk the whole time. And there's also an interesting sort of little backstories in the show that are great. We're going to make Hippocras, which is essentially mulled wine. It's old. There's records of it in Roman times, but it was very popular in pre-Renaissance England, through Renaissance England, all the way to the mid-1700s. Louis XIV drank it, but most interesting to me is Elizabeth I drank it, and basically everybody drank it. They want you to soak it for a couple of hours, then take the herbs and stuff out, and then let it sit overnight or whatever they want. That's not necessary. You don't have to do that. This is a fun thing because the history is so fabulous, okay? And you can look up all kinds of things about it. Use good wine. Don't use wine you wouldn't drink. So I'm going to put some sugar in. I'm thinking about how much wine is going to go in here. Then I'm going to pour wine in here. Ah, the juice. I'm going to stir this a little bit. Now, some people will have you heating this in the beginning like a brine. You don't need to heat it. The sugar will dissolve. You might have to stir it a couple times. We're going to wing this, okay? Now, they use a lot of peppers and things, black pepper, spices. Not because it's commonly believed that the meat was rotten. That's actually a fallacy. A lot of that's not true. They had a taste for those things, for highly spiced things. It was also an indicator of wealth. So we're going to take a piece of cheesecloth. You want to let this soak in here for at least 2 hours, whatever your packet is. I'm peeling a piece of ginger, a rather large piece of ginger. It's very juicy and fresh. Then I'm going to use some cubeb peppers, which are super fragrant, sort of in between juniper and nutmeg, kind of. You can also use something called grains of paradise. Beautiful sort of cross between cardamom seed and they're actually a great thing to cook with. I forgot to buy them. So we're going to use something called long peppers, which were used in the original Hippocras. Isn't that amazing? And it smells crazy. I'm going to put probably this many in here. I'm going to use a whole nutmeg. Do you know what mace is? Not mace that you spray in the face. Actually, it's similar. It's actually the papery covering of a nutmeg. That's a nutmeg. Let's put 2 in. What the hell? I would use stick cinnamon in this. I really wouldn't use powder, but we're going to use powder because I only have powder. I'm going to put this on the ginger so it sticks, you know? So here's star anise. Oh, yeah. I'm just going to taste this and see if it's sweet. Got a lot of complaints about double dipping the spoon. It's actually not that sweet. Ooh, it's kind of good with sugar in it. That was also a popular sugared wine or honeyed wine. It was also a very popular thing. So we're going to leave this in here for 2 hours. So I'm just going to put this in. This is clean. And we're going to leave it for a couple of hours. It already smells amazing. Even if you don't want to drink it and you're heating it for your guests to make like spiced wine or whatever the way they call it in Sweden has a great name. It smells great when they walk in. And this has a slightly different smell because it's not just cinnamon and something else. It's weird peppers and stuff like that. So make Hippocras. If you heat this on the stove, it's really like a beautiful smell, okay? Other than that, I don't know if it's drinkable. Here's the little thing we put in. I'm just going to take this off and throw it away. And now I'm going to strain it. Am I trying this? Am I going to be the guinea pig? I would heat this, but let's try a pooty poo cold. here's the deal. Mulled wine, which is what this is, essentially, you can drink it right away. Back in the Middle Ages, they would let it sit for several days after you took the thing out. I don't see the need for that. So we're gonna try it right now. This could be super bad. It's absolutely fantastic. Holy cow. Who drinks wine? Try that. It's divine.
Ooh.
Okay, next time I would use a lot more peppers. Nikki, is that not amazing?
Ooh, that's really nice.
Now I know it should have a little more ginger. The ginger should be sliced or crushed. And also it should have a lot more peppers, and the peppers should be smashed. I'm making this, man. Hippocras. Let's heat it up and drink en masse. I'm gonna heat this up until it has a little steam, but not enough to burn off the alcohol. As we're heating it, because I discovered that it was a little mild, I'm putting in more ginger. I'm gonna slice this ginger so it's more juicy. I'm gonna put a couple more peppercorn. There we go. Hippocras. It's hilarious. Your friends don't know what it is. It's a fun thing to serve. Make some Hippocras. Don't delay. Make Hippocras today. So today we made Hippocras, or Hippocras. Kind of a weird drink, but it sure tastes good. We also made bull shots in memory of my dad, who drank bull shots on stormy days on the vineyard. We made cheesecake, delicious, thick, yummy, indulgent cheesecake with a cookie crumb crust. Then we made Meatloaf with a glaze. That's meatloaf with a glaze. Who can say no? We want to thank you guys for watching Dinner Party tonight. We don't even know what to say about you guys watching and writing in and being so kind to us. And I hope that you have a comfortable comfort time this winter, drinking warm drinks and having your friends over. Have your friends over, it's not gonna kill you. If something goes wrong, nobody cares. They just want to be with you, watching MasterChef The Professionals UK, or just having a drink or a soda. That's all. Open your door, let people in. It's okay, you can do it. It's absolutely fantastic.